Hey, friends. Happy Monday. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and a great start to your week. Would love to know who is here from the DIY crew, meaning you have tried your hand at becoming a freelance health content writer before. Let me adjust my light. You've tried your hand at becoming a freelance health content writer before, kind of on a DIY basis, trying to figure it out, but you might have run into some issues. And I'm wondering um, how many folks out there can identify with that sentiment, because I've talked to a couple of people over the past 4 to 6 weeks who have expressed that they themselves have been interested in freelance health content writing. Um, and kind of tried to step out of their comfort zone and figure it out, or maybe start writing for a few outlets, but they were unhappy, let's just say unhappy, with some of the pay that they were being offered. And so they kind of decided, like, this is not worth my the monetary reward or return is not worth my energy. So I'm just gonna let that go, and move on to other options. So I'm curious to know if any of you can resonate with that experience, or if that experience resonates with anyone in particular. I mean, for me, if you've listened to previous videos before, or if you're familiar with my story, you know that I also took the figure it out myself route, because I didn't really know of anyone at the time who was doing what I aspired to do. And so I definitely have had my own season where I was seeing like very low offers and dirt cheap rates, and I knew that was not my calling, that was not my ministry. So thankfully, I was able to figure out my way around that. But I know that it can be tricky if you're not really familiar with the space. So that's why I want to have this conversation today. Before we dive too deep into it, by way of introduction, I'm Megan Freeland. I'm a public health pharmacist turned health content strategist. I run a health content marketing company called Stock Rose Creative. And I also created a 4-month accelerator program called Health Professionals to Health Writers, which helps pharmacists and other healthcare providers learn how to replace a portion of their full-time salary through freelance health content writing. And I'm a person who made a terrible decision to put on this sweatshirt and then sit in front of this bright, hot light. So hopefully I don't start sweating today, but if I do, you will understand why. As always, feel free to leave comments or questions, whether you're watching live or whether you're catching the replay. If I don't see them live, I will see them later. And we can go ahead and dive into the conversation. So 2 things that I want to do today. I want to kind of address up front, if you have been in an experience where you've tried your hand at freelance health content writing, but you received low offers. I want to talk about why that might be the case, why you might have received those low offers. And then I also want to offer some suggestions for how you want to be thinking moving forward if you decide that you want to, continue or try again to pursue freelance health content writing. What things that you want to be thinking about in order to be able to demand higher rates and to attract clients who really understand the utility of what it is that you're doing. So, first and foremost, why you might be getting trash offers for your freelance health content writing services. So, one big glaring problem that a lot of folks face is that when starting out, of course, you need to know how to go out and how to scope prospective client or organizations, companies, entrepreneurs who could be good clients of yours down the line. How do you go out and find those people? And when you're first starting out as a freelancer, that's a big hurdle, because it's probably not something you've ever had to do before. You might have been like a full-time employee or PRN employee, and that process of like becoming an employee is very different from scoping out people who you want to work with as a freelancer. And so understandably, that process can be challenging. And because of that, you might be in a position where the prospective clients you're coming across are not really of the highest quality. So maybe you are on gig platforms like Fiverr, Fiverr, if you're familiar with that platform, or like Upwork, where yes, there are some gems of potential clients who are in the mix, but there are also a whole lot of folks who are looking for, if not free labor, then dirt cheap labor. And so those types of prospects don't necessarily see health content writing as a high value service. Instead, a lot of them see it as a commodity, or something they can just exchange $20 for and get a 2,000 word blog post, or they see it as something that they want just for show. They're not really focused on the value of it as a marketing tool, but they just want the words on the paper. So when you're on those platforms, you're going to encounter a lot of people who are looking for those types of things. And when you have those encounters, that's when you're going to see those low offers, those super cheap rates. You'll see other freelancers with really, really cheap rates, because the goal is just to get the client, right? The goal is not to find a high quality client that you have a great working relationship with, that you can demand high or accurate value for your work, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The goal is just to get that client. And it's like a race to the bottom is how some people kind of describe it. So that's one major problem, is if you are frequently encountering low quality prospects, then those prospects are probably going to be offering you, sorry, I'm trying to clear me up. Those prospects are probably going to be offering you offers that are not really good or that are worth your time. The second problem is that maybe you have a prospect who is not like, they're not necessarily scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of looking for the cheapest labor possible, but they may be focusing on quantity over quality. So maybe they are a private practice provider who has heard that they need to be using content marketing in order to publicize their practice. And for them, that might mean, hey, I need a blog on my website. But they don't necessarily understand that they don't necessarily understand that blog as a marketing tool. They kind of understand it as just something trendy or cute or cool to go on their website, but they don't understand the inner workings of how that blog is really a part of a content marketing strategy, which needs to tie to a business goal, et cetera, et cetera. And so because of that, they're focused on a blog that has as many articles as possible, but aren't necessarily focused on the quality of those articles from a content marketing strategy perspective. And so a problem that you might encounter if you run into those types of prospects is that you might not be able to properly educate a prospect on what it is that they need in terms of content marketing and why they need it. So it doesn't mean that they're a bad prospect, but a lot of folks who run businesses are not experts in every piece of the business. So plenty of people who run businesses are not experts in marketing that business. And so it's normal to maybe sometimes need to fill in gaps and supplement the knowledge that a health company might have around marketing by educating them on certain things. But as the freelancer, if you're not able to fill in those gaps or do that educating, it can be hard to bring that prospect or that client to the level of understanding that they need to be at to understand the value of what it is that you're providing. So if you're coming into freelance health content writing as just a healthcare provider, a pharmacist, a nurse, a physician who has this knowledge and can put words on paper, that's one thing. But you also need to have the foundational understanding and knowledge of what content marketing really is, how that ties to business goals, and be able to convey that information to educate prospects or clients with that information, because that will help you kind of bump up their level of understanding, so that the value that you're offering through your services is more evident. So hopefully that makes sense. The second biggest issue that DIY freelancers are running into is not being able to properly educate clients, possibly because you don't have a deep enough understanding of what content marketing really is. And then the third problem that I think folks are running into is the kind of a inability to articulate the value of content writing services from a more broad content marketing perspective. So y'all hear me say all the time that content writing does not exist on its own. Writing a blog post is not content marketing, right? Content marketing is like a 6 to 8 step process, depending on who you ask. Content writing is just one piece of it. But that includes, content marketing includes the strategy, it includes the planning, it does include the content writing or the content creation, but then you have to distribute it, you have to evaluate it, you can repurpose it. There are a lot of other things that are going on outside of actually just writing that blog post. And so you need to be able to articulate the value of that blog post, but in the landscape of the entire content marketing process. And so for prospects or clients who think that, oh, a blog is just words on a paper, or, oh, I just need this video to put out right here, that is a very limited view of what content marketing really is. And so you need to be able to express the value of your services within the entire ecosystem of content marketing, not just content writing, because that's a limited view compared to the wider impact that your content writing services are going to have for that client. So it's kind of similar to that educating piece, but this third piece is really about being able to explain why content writing is needed for that particular client from a wider, broader content marketing perspective. So with these being 3 challenges that I feel like folks are facing, let's talk about solutions. If you decide, you know what, now I understand what things were missing when I tried to do this before, I'm ready to hop back out there. Or if you've maybe never tried it yourself before and you're interested in going forward, these are 3 things that will be helpful for you to keep in mind so that you don't run into the 3 problems that we just talked about. So if you remember, the first problem was low quality clients. The first solution is knowing how to actively scope out high quality prospects and clients instead of constantly hanging around gig platforms like Upwork, like Fiverr, which are more likely to have low quality prospects and clients. So what students in my Health Professionals to Health Writers program learn is called the I'm Rich pitch process. And it's basically a trademark process that I created for being able to go out and identify high quality prospects and create ways to engage with them. And essentially offer your services. So when it comes down to it, one question that I get a lot of times is, hey, Megan, you're always talking about low quality versus higher quality prospects. How do you find them? And my biggest suggestion is to not take the passive approach of going to a platform and seeing who's just out there asking for services, but rather taking a proactive approach to identify different companies that would be great companies for you to write for based on your particular niche and offering your services to that company. We talked a lot about niches last week, so I would encourage you to go watch the previous videos on that about why you need to choose a niche. But basically what we're focusing on here is taking a proactive approach to try to find high quality clients rather than going to gig platforms where we already know there are a bunch of low quality clients hanging around and trying to go after them. The second thing, okay, that problem was an inability to educate clients. So the solution to that is to be able to educate clients on what content marketing really is and why quality is so much more important than quantity. So you want to be able to explain why content writing is really valuable for that particular health company, what business goals it can help them achieve, and really make that connection for them, to really explain that, a blog is not just for show, it's not just cute, it's not just something that's nice to have on your website. It's really part of an entire marketing strategy. And that will help them understand like the entire process and why that has more value to them than just, a couple of words on a paper. And then the third challenge was an inability to be able to articulate the value of the content writing services in the entire content marketing landscape. And so the solution to that is, of course, be able to articulate the value of those services. Now, on your part, that is going to require you to understand how content writing fits into the entire content marketing ecosystem. And so maybe it's the case that you might have to go do some learning about that yourself. You might have to go dive into, content marketing, how that relates to digital marketing, and what the actual steps of the content marketing process are, where content writing fits into that. Again, for students who are in health professionals to health writers, that's the very first thing that we do. And that is a phase 1 of the program. And that's because you have to have that foundational understanding before you can move forward with anything else. So if you are on the DIY train, I would highly recommend to focus on diving deep on content marketing. From the jump, so that as you're progressing in your craft and in your freelancing journey, you have a good understanding of what it is you're doing and how this fits into that larger landscape. If you're looking for resources, just Google content marketing. Everybody here knows how to Google, so you'll find plenty of information and resources there. So it is completely possible to DIY and learn along the way. I don't want to discourage you from trying to get back out there, even if you've had a negative experience before. I think that now you might have a better understanding of why you had those experiences and the things that you can do to change those moving forward. For one, if you're DIYing, it's going to take time and it's going to take persistence. I took about 3.5 to 4 years of time to find my way. And I understand that not everyone has that time available to them. So again, if you know that, you are still interested in freelance health content writing, and you got an offer for like a $40 blog post before, but now you know that, hey, it's possible for me to charge $300, $400, $500 for a blog post. These are the 3 things I need to change about my strategy. Go forth and conquer. The 3 things that we talked about in this video are 3 of the things that you're going to want to focus on in order to be able to demand those higher rates. If you need help with this process, there are still teeny little bit of seats left in the January cohort of health professionals to health writers, which is open now. So you can just comment "write" if you are interested, WRITE, or you can always shoot me a message and that says "write" or that you're interested in the cohort. But enrollment is going to be closing very soon, and seats are probably going to be full even sooner than the end enrollment date. So let me know if you are interested. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about what we talked about today. And I will see you all on our regularly scheduled conversation day, which is Wednesday. So have a great one.